What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Fight Hard, Fight Clean. Now, admittedly, I was slacking this week, all right? I was just being a lazy goober in my bed instead of making content for y'all, but I didn't want to leave y'all completely hanging this week, so I've got a new video series concept for y'all. Welcome to the Lookback. The Lookback is basically where I take some of my favorite fights, some of the most important fights in combat sports, talk about what happened during the fight and the impact it made on certain fighters' lives, the sport, the genre of sport, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about how important it really was. And today, we're talking about the day that crossover boxing became serious. KSI versus Logan Paul 2. We're not talking about the first one, even though the first one is really what brought it to the biggest of stages, but the second one is where Hearn got involved, Matchroom Boxing got involved, DAZN got involved. It was a pro fight, 10-ounce gloves, no headgear. It was pretty much everyone was expecting someone to meet the canvas, and they both did, but both knockdowns came with their own controversies, and we're going to take a look at that real quick. So let's head right into it. Here we go. Now, I'm probably going to have to cut out a lot of this video or zoom in on my face during the split box because this is DAZN content. They could easily take down this video in a snap of a finger. So there's going to be a lot of times where the camera's going to look like this. Yeah. But anyway, a lot of the controversy from this fight came from this man, Jack Reese. And I'm going to talk about later in the video that I think the most controversial choices he made were the right choices. I could see the logic behind what he was doing, and like I said, we're going to talk about if I was in his shoes, I probably would have done the same thing. Here is KSI's knockdown. One lands on the shoulder, other one lands on the guard. He backs up, Logan ducks, boom. Jack Reese saw it as a slip. That's why he was telling Logan, hey, just get up, why are you on the floor? That should have been scored a knockdown, and we see that in the fight replay or the round replay. Here's the best shot of it. Jab, boom, right on the ear. In the words of Conor McGregor, the perfect legal shot. That is the perfect shot to daze your opponent and get a knockdown. So realistically, this should have been a knockdown for KSI, and he was dazed. He wasn't too dazed because he was able to finish out the round without, you know, too much conflict and without taking a lot of big shots. But that should have been scored a knockdown. And I think, again, Logan said in his video that he thought he got knocked down. That's why he was on the floor looking at Jack Reese like, all right, what do you want? Oh, you want me to get up? All right. And now let's look at the infamous uppercut followed by the back of the head shot. So let's look at the live shot first. Boom, uppercut lands. One of the most fucking perfect shots of the fight. This shot created babies this night. This shot was immaculate. But then grabs the back of his head, illegal offense. He held his head, then shot an uppercut. Fighters have done this. Logan even said, oh yeah, other fighters have done it. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it legal. He held his head, kind of hit him on the back of the head going down, and then boom again on the floor. Technically, that's 3 illegal offenses. I'm honestly amazed KSI was able to get up immediately from that and just kind of stumble to the corner. And it seems like every challenging fight KSI's in, the back of his head is like repeatedly getting abused. The 2 most challenging fights of his career were Logan Paul, the second fight, or just in general, Logan Paul always gave him some trouble. Logan Paul and Tommy Fury. In that fight as well, Tommy Fury in the clinch loved punching the back of KSI's skull. So I don't know what it is about fighters in the back of KSI's scullular region, but they love punching it. Now listen to what Jack Reese says here.
Dude, you held his head with the uppercut, then you hit him when he was down. You can't do that shit. So I'm waving that off.
You hear what he said? I'm waving that off. He recognized that a knockdown was scored. A knockdown was scored. A fair knockdown. This is how I saw his logic. That uppercut he landed was fair. And that was what knocked him down. We found out that the real shot that knocked him down was the head being held and then the uppercut. However, he realized that the other half of that knockdown was achieved through illegal and dirty measures, the punching in the back of the head while he was down. You have to make that reflect on the scorecards. So that's why he did this.
Scored a knockdown, then take away 2 points for hitting him when he was down.
2 points?
Score it, and then 2 points for punching when he's down.
That is a very important fact. Score the knockdown. Score the knockdown for Logan Paul, but then take away 2 points for hitting him while he was down. This is now a 10-8 round for Logan Paul. But when you take away the 2 points, it's a tie round. It's an 8-8, which I think is a fair judgment for this round and the situation. Again, the knockdown was scored through illegal measures, which means he can't give him full credit for the knockdown. And there were so many illegal offenses in that little space that 1 point wouldn't have really sufficed, and it wouldn't have reflected how the knockdown was scored. I think that's the logic he was going off of. All right, so yeah, we already know the scorecards. KSI ended up winning that fight. What I learned, well, yo, why is Stitch Duran looking at me like that? What we learned from this fight is this fight was full of shoulda, woulda, coulda, if, ands, and buts. If KSI got scored for his knockdown, if Logan Paul didn't get 2 points taken away, so many things happened, and KSI ended up taking the victory. Now, the aftermath of this fight. Jake Paul was hell-bent on getting revenge for his brother and went after Gib. Finished Gib within a round. The last thing fans expected, because Gib was on the KSI versus Joe Weller card and the KSI versus Logan Paul 1 card, meaning he had the experience over Jake. But because Jake called in such huge reinforcements like Shane Mosley, he ended up winning that fight because he kept his composure, navigated the weird crouching crab style of Gib, and finished him within a round. And then COVID hit. And while KSI was at home making YouTube videos, that's not a dig, while he was at home making YouTube videos, Jake Paul fought Nate Robinson on the undercard of Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. And then 2021, Logan Paul ended up fighting Floyd Mayweather. The loser of this fight fought Mayweather. And I might have to do another fight reaction to that, because there was a lot of people saying like, oh yeah, Floyd didn't take it easy, or Floyd took it easy on Logan. It was just, you know, like Floyd toying around with him for 8 rounds. The way Floyd, in my opinion, does these exhibitions, he will toy with you for 2 or 3 rounds, but then past that point, he will start to put the pedal to the metal and try and stop you. That's what happened with Deji. However, this is not what this video is about. Back to the KSI boxing break era thing. 2022 hits. KSI introduces Misfits Boxing and the first event. One of the most stacked Misfits cards still of all time. He fought Swarms, fought Pineda, then Misfits 004, I think he was meant to fight Woodley.
He was so down, bro. I was gonna be fighting Woodley. Dennis was so down. Woodley was giving us problems. Dennis was so down, so we were like, all right, cool. Let's fight Dennis. Now look.
Dennis ended up pulling out, so then he fought FaZe Temper, and then after that, he fought Fournier on 007, and I believe the next fight after that was meant to be Jake Paul. He had just knocked out Fournier with his forearm, but I digress. That because he had just really learned and got comfortable with the karate style, because that was his best chance of beating Jake Paul. And they were meant to fight in Dallas, Texas, I believe, but then Jake Paul said, nah, man. Nah, I just lost to Tommy Fury, so I'm gonna take the Nate Diaz fight. Jake's team said, the next fight you should take is KSI. You should take the KSI fight next. Then he said, I'm not built like that, and took the Nate Diaz fight. Hopefully I'll be able to find it, but there's this amazing edit from my guy Tripped Edits, follow him on Twitter or X, where it's Jake Paul in his Nate Diaz gear fighting KSI in this blue kit, and that's realistically in a different dimension. That was the reality of the situation. That's where we should have been, but instead we got KSI versus Tommy Fury. KSI lost to Tommy Fury. Now he's mainly focused on YouTube, music, and anything else. Now, what did you notice from everything I just mentioned? Probably that I mentioned it. And I know what you're thinking, what the fuck does that even mean? On some Marvel shit, on some Marvel BS, in a different dimension, crossover boxing ended in 2020 or 2021, because it would have went KSI beat Logan Paul in the second fight, Jake Paul beat Gib in their fight, and then KSI fought Jake Paul, and whoever won that won. If KSI and Jake fought in 2021, let's say there was no COVID, let's say they fought in 2020 or 2021, I think KSI would have taken that one too, because with that rambunctious style, I think Jake Paul would have gotten overwhelmed and he would have gotten stressed out in the ring, and KSI would have been able to land much more effective shots, because in both Logan Paul fights, KSI's main issue was that Logan was so fucking big, right? He was tall, he was fucking huge and muscular, and he couldn't land shots because he was so big. All he had to do was like this, and then he got away from an overhand. Jake, that may have been a different story. But instead, we now have Misfits Boxing. We just had Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua happen. Yeah, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. All of these weird Jake Paul crossover fights, because we have not gotten KSI versus Jake Paul yet. Do I think KSI versus Jake Paul still happens? I'm waving the white flag, man. It's over. It's genuinely over. So, did you watch KSI versus Logan Paul 2 live, and what did you think of the fight? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, comment down below some fights you would like me to look back on. And please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps me out a bunch. And as always, my friends, fight hard, fight clean, and I'll see you soon.